So how does that get us to Microsoft? So I worked there for a couple of years, and then they got bought out by Borland, and they laid everybody off, and so I had to find a job, which wasn't really hard to do down in Silicon Valley in those days. And I had 4 or 5 employees at that time, and they came to me one by one and said, hey, have you applied to Microsoft? I said, why would I apply to Microsoft? I don't work in Seattle. And they said, well, there's one in Menlo Park. They do PowerPoint. I had no idea. And I said, but no, I work for Microsoft. It's the evil empire. Who the hell would ever want to work there? All right? There's plenty of places I could work. And the next guy came in and said, have you applied to Microsoft? They turned me down. And I realized that after a couple of weeks that everybody in the test department had applied to Microsoft and been turned down. And I thought, what kind of bullshit is this? All right? Who do these people think they are, turning all my people down? So I told John Nicole, I'm going to apply to Microsoft just so they can turn me down too. And he said, not with that resume, you're not going to apply. They don't want any fast food restaurant managers. So he helped me punch up the resume a little. And I called Eunice Yan, who was the test manager at Microsoft at the time, and said, I understand that you've interviewed all my people. She said, yes. I said, I understand you turned them all down. She said, yes. And I said, I'd like to apply for a job too, so you can turn me down, and that way you can bat 1,000. And she said, what? I said, I want to apply too. She goes, do you want the job or don't you want the job? I said, I want to apply for a job. And she goes, okay, send me your resume. Well, there was no way around that. I had to send her my resume, which I did. And 2 days later, I got the form letter, thank you for your interest, we'll keep it on file, yada, yada, yada. And I said, what kind of bullshit is this? They didn't even interview me? I mean, I don't mind if they turn me down, I want to work there anyway. But you're not even going to interview me? What kind of crap is it? The arrogance of that place. So I ended up calling her and saying, it's George Santino, I sent you my resume, you turned me down. She goes, oh, well, aren't you the guy who wanted to be turned down? I said, you got to at least interview me. And she goes, well, if we interview you and we make you an offer, would you take it? Yes, I will. I will certainly take it if you make an offer. Just get me in there and interview. So she said, okay, we'll bring you in. And I went in for an interview. I think I did pretty well. And 2 days later, I got the same letter. And I thought, okay, wait a second. I thought I did pretty well there. So I called her back and said, what's the deal? You turned me down. She goes, you're really starting to confuse me. I thought you wanted us to turn you down. We've turned you down twice now. And I said, yeah, I know, but you can at least tell me why. She goes, well, you don't have a college degree. I said, excuse me, what? You know Bill Gates? I mean, far be it for me to compare myself to Bill Gates, but the man doesn't have a college degree. Neither does George Tate or runs Ashton Tate or Steve Jobs, for God's sake. You can't turn me down for not having a college degree. And she goes, well, it's not just about the college degree. I'd like to know that you're capable of finishing something. And I go, oh. I said, so had I finished college back in 1974 when we were using slide rules in our calculus class, you'd want to hire me. And she goes, well, no. I said, well, I took business management in college. I have 20 years of business management experience. I would think that that would be better than me having a college degree in business management from the University of South Florida. And she goes, well, you got a good point. Would you mind coming in and talking to a couple more people? I said, sure, I'll talk to a couple more people. So I went in and talked to a couple more people. And 2 days later, I got a letter saying, thank you for your interest again. I said, now they're pissing me off. Right? This is ridiculous. Right? So I called her back and said, what's the problem now? And she said, well, you don't really have, we were looking for somebody with 5 years Windows experience. I said, are you kidding? You just shipped Windows 3.0. Unless you're playing Reversi on the thing, who the hell was using Windows before now? I said, you're not going to find me with 5. You don't have 5 years Windows experience. You're PowerPoint. You're a Mac shop. And she goes, well, do you have any Windows experience? I said, we're one of the few companies other than Microsoft that's doing a Windows product. Of course I have Windows experience. And she said, would you mind coming back in for another interview? I said, is somebody left there I haven't talked to? And she goes, yeah, you'll come in and talk to this guy. So I said, okay, fine, I'll go talk to this guy. And this was their networking guy. And he says, I'm going to ask you about Novell networks and bridges and routers and all this other stuff. And I said, I don't know anything about that. And I don't think the software testing job requires that. And he goes, well, no, but this is my area of expertise. So I'm going to ask her questions that you know the answers to, whether it has anything to do with the job or not. Well, he escorted me from the building, and I got my letter 2 days later. So then I called back again, because now it's about my ego now. It's got nothing to do with working for Microsoft or working for anybody. I called him back and said, look, I aced those interviews, except apparently the networking one. It seems to me that you got to have some kind of job I can do. And she goes, well, you certainly are tenacious. And I said, thank you, yes, I'll take that as a compliment, because that's what I am. And she said, I noticed on your resume that at Ashton Tate you built a lab. And I said, yes, it's the lab where we test printers, plotters, and cameras. And I'm an expert in that area, by the way. And she said, well, how would you be interested in being our lab coordinator? And I said, lady, I will take the job sweeping the floors if that's what it takes to get into Microsoft and show you people that I'm worth hiring. And she said, it's funny you should say that, because keeping the lab clean would be a part of your responsibilities. So I said, fine, I'll take the job. So I took the job, and on my first day I came home and I told Susie, I said, you know what? I now have 2 jobs. From 9 until 6, Monday through Friday, I'm going to be the best damn lab coordinator these people have ever seen. And from 6 until 9, Monday through Friday, and 10 until 4 on Saturday, I'm going to do software testing, even though that's not what they hired me for. And I tested their product, and I entered bugs like crazy. And after about 3 months, they were looking for a software tester. And Eunice told the dev team that we're going to put an ad in the paper, find a software tester. And the dev guy said, why would you do that? Why? George is the software tester. Just have him test the software. And then she came to me and said, I think you're more than just a lab coordinator. I think you could be a software tester. And I thought, yeah, no shit. And I said, thank you very much for the opportunity. I will be happy to try to do my best for you. And so 3 months later, I was a software tester. I went home to Susie and I said, I got 2 jobs. From 9 until 6, Monday through Friday, I'm a software tester. From 6 until 9 and 10 until 4 on Saturday, I'm going to try to bring about new processes. I'm going to try to do more leadership kinds of things, put together buddy testing, try to put some process and build some automation. At that time, Chris Burrs and Anil were working there, so I had a couple of good guys to help me start doing some automation. And when PowerPoint got big enough to where they told Eunice that you should probably hire some leads, Bob Gaskins, who was the PUM at that time, said, and you need 4, but I assume you only have to hire 3 because George is already one of the leads, right? And 9 months later, I was a manager at Microsoft. And that's how I got my start.